I'm Dan Drake. This is Front Up on Visitor Network TV. We're in our new set today, a brand new set. The other one did yeoman service for about 10 years, but it was ready to go. And we have this wonderful new setup, and the tabletop is courtesy of Nantucket Glass. We have with us today Justin Cherney, who is the resident artistic director of the Nantucket Theater Workshop, who is taking John Shea's place, I believe, this summer, maybe more, I don't know. We'll get into that. While John is working on his movie, The Gray Lady, and I guess over the summer he's going to be editing and all that kind of stuff, so he needed the time away from...
Correct. He's also filmed a pilot, and so if that gets picked up, he's going to be all over the country.
History for the
So he's
Workshop,
very busy. Yeah, so...
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Justin. What's your background? You have an extensive theater background, I think. But
I do. Well, it started when I was 3. No. Well, I'm a Navy brat, which I think is one of the most interesting things about me. So I've been all over the world with that, and I born in Florida, graduated high school in Washington State, then went off to school, finished school in New York at Marymount Manhattan College, and promptly got my first job in dinner theater. And
well, that's better than most. They just get their job at dinner, right?
Right, serving dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
So then things just slowly evolve, and all of a sudden you find yourself choreographing, you find yourself directing, and then you find yourself one day resident artistic director of the Theater Workshop of Nantucket, and I couldn't be happier to be here right now.
You've been in a variety of familiar musicals in various venues around the country.
I have. I've done Crazy for You, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, Miss Saigon, to Jerry Springer the Opera. So
that I haven't seen.
Yeah, it's a little bit more of an adult show, but that was a Vegas production. Right.
So is it musical theater the genre that you really like?
I've found that I've worked the most in musical theater. Given the opportunity to do anything I like, I would probably work on new works. I love the development process and getting to see something fully realized, because you get to put your stamp on it. So it doesn't necessarily mean I wouldn't want to work on a new musical, but just new works in general.
I've often wondered how a sort of creative team works when you're working on a show. Do they work well?
Very carefully. No, you do work well, and that's part of my job, actually, and is to make sure that everybody works well.
But I'm speaking about when you're developing a show.
Well, when you're developing a show, there's a lot of back and forth. Yes, there can be. I'm sure things get heated, but most of the time, people are in the room to make something happen. I mean, we're artists. We wouldn't be doing this. We're not doing this for the money. We're doing this because we want to create something. And you've got a lot of people with a lot of different ideas, but hopefully you've assembled the team that will work the best and serve that project the best. So, and your team gets larger as your project gets larger.
You've got a couple of things in process now, don't you?
We do. So we just started rehearsals for Hay
No,
Fever.
again, back to your personal.
Oh, back to my personal.
We'll get to the Theater Workshop.
We'll get to the Theater Workshop in a minute. Yeah. So I do. I actually have a screenplay that I've written that's fortunately it's making its way. It's out in LA right now. Don't want to jinx it and go too far into that, but it's called Truth or Consequences. It's a family dramedy, but takes place in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, which is a very interesting city. I've visited several times.
They named themselves after the TV show, right?
They did. I think they won the contest, and that was, yeah. So that's if a town does that after a TV show, you know that it's a little different. But I loved it, and so that's a really interesting part. That's been a really interesting process, because writing a screenplay is so different than writing a play, and then I have Functioning Dysfunctionally, which is a series of started out as a play, and then it ended up. It started out as a short play, and then it ended up that 4 short plays kind of fit together, and I turned them into a, I turned it into a 4-section, 4 1-acts. One of my thoughts is possibly workshopping that here and just at least hearing it aloud. And then the other project I have that actually is really on its way is Fooled by a Feeling, which is it's a jukebox musical, which a lot of people roll their eyes at, but let's face it, Mamma Mia has made millions. And Fooled by a Feeling is based on the music of Barbara Mandrell, which a lot of people don't remember, but when you start to play her music, they do. So we've done some really great readings of that, and I'm really excited about that. That's probably the furthest along right now in terms of development. So, yeah.
Good. Well, that's fun. It's
Well,
it's something besides your day job to
exactly
keep you busy.
exactly.
Now, what is your day job?
So my day job is like I said, I'm resident artistic director.
What does that mean?
So an artistic director of a theater you're basically, without sounding too arrogant, you're the director of everything. So every director you bring in, you then sit back. You're not at every rehearsal. You're not hovering over them. You don't want to stifle the process. But you do come in, and you're like that eye that comes in and says, "Okay, well, now wait a minute. What's going on with the set over here? Or what's happening with this actor? Or I'm not sure I really think that costume suits the scene. I mean, you have your eye on everything. And as a director, and as anybody in the creative team, I mean, as they're creating a show, sometimes they get bogged down in the little details. So the artistic director's job is to kind of step back and be able to look at the whole picture and come at it with that third eye.
Normally, would the artistic director be the principal mover in selecting the shows that are on for a season?
Yes. So I walked into this season. We made 2 adjustments when I came on board. But this season I did walk into. This position may or may not continue. We're not quite sure how that's going to work out. But I am going to be involved in choosing the 2015 season, which is, as an artistic director, you want to be involved in that because then you know what you're presenting.
What are the things you take into consideration in choosing a season?
Well, there are things that I'm learning here on Nantucket. Your audience, also, as I've learned, Nantucket's population fluctuates enormously. So, our larger shows, our shows that we know are going to bring in people, we want to do those at the height of the season, July, August. But also on Nantucket, we have a really intelligent crowd, and we want to cater to them also. So you take all of those elements. You also take into account the Christmas time and a time when we really like to involve the community and the shows and what's going to best suit that time. And then the way we're looking at it this year is we're kind of throwing together a couple of different seasons, and then we're going to look at those and see, okay, what do we like out of all of these, and kind of try to mash it up. I'm really interested in us pulling from the good old-fashioned and also pulling from the cutting edge and trying to find that nice blend so that we really do have something for everybody. But you do have to take into account, our spaces and our limitations, but your limitations are sometimes your assets also. So. And
also, I presume people who are available to play the roles.
Exactly. That's been really interesting this year. We are branching out more. I just came back from New York auditioning for Oklahoma, which is our big summer musical. We also auditioned for a play we're doing called Picasso. We're going to be bringing in, I would say, close to 50% of our actors this season.
How do you do that with the auditioning in New York? Does somebody sort of set it up for you, or do you have to do it all yourself, or how does that? Do you have an agent sort of who works the other way?
No, so we have
a casting director or whatever.
Well, we're the Theater Workshop, so we're a little bit smaller right now. In terms of casting direction, that kind of fell under Gabrielle and I. We did have people in the city that we had hired to work with us. You hire your accompanist and all of that kind of stuff. Our production manager on Island sets up the studio space, arranges for all of that. And you post calls on playbill.com, backstage.com, and we had about 70 actors show up. Started with a dance call, whittled that down, sing, act. Slowly, you end up with a very small select group. But and then sometimes we do things through submissions, and then we make appointments to see
Were there
those
people you know who you'd like to see too?
Yes. For Oklahoma, I'd really like to bring in a nice, fresh group of people. But regardless of, people that we're bringing in are fresh faces, regardless here, which is nice this year.
Yeah,
So.
probably. We had one show several years ago, which you probably heard about, which was the show with Mrs. Robinson. Please, you know.
Right.
And you know, it was a little bit of a shock to the community when one of the actresses bared herself on the stage. You know, I think probably
The Graduate,
better.
right?
Yeah, The Graduate. Thank you. It's probably better to have somebody unknown.
Who's not going to be seen probably getting a coffee at the hub.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was.
So,
It was caused a lot of conversation.
hey, and you know what though?
Yeah, that's good. That's not bad.
It's publicity.
That's right. So what's the season? How's the season playing out?
So we start with No Coward Hay Fever.
Mm-hmm.
Good, solid, old-fashioned show. I hate to say old-fashioned, just it's older show.
I've never seen it, so I'm looking forward to it.
It's really fantastic. It's really funny. It's come watch. And we have a fantastic director in for that. He's a Yale grad director, and he's worked Broadway, off-Broadway.
How much
all
of the
over
cast
place.
of that have you brought in?
1, 2, 3, 4. It's a cast of 9, so we've brought in 4 people. Then we follow that with Black Tie, which is an A.R. Gurney show. And that should be almost all fresh faces, actually. I think there's one actress in it. We haven't completely cast that, so we haven't announced our cast for that yet. Then Black Tie starts running. Oklahoma overlaps that. Again, Oklahoma, as you know, we just we just started dealing with. And then we do The Last 5 Years, which is a Jason Robert Brown musical. And Donald, and I'm blanking on his last name, and Vanessa, and I'm blanking on her last name, but they are kind of...
it's Sunday.
Yeah. They're local talent that probably we would have cast out of New York regardless, and we're really excited to have them on board for that. It's a 2-person musical. And then we do Red, which is a play about Mark Rothko, and then a play, Picasso, which is a play about Picasso.
Awesome.
And that rounds out this season until we get to our Christmas show, which this year we're going to do Cinderella. So we're kind of a Rodgers and Hammerstein musical season.
That's all right. That sounds like a great lineup.
I think it is.
And
I think it is. And for a season to have walked into, I walked into a pretty great season.
good. I'll look forward to the one about Rothko particularly.
It's fantastic. The exciting thing about that also is that we, Gabrielle and I put together a proposal for the Nantucket project to present during one of the interstitials a scene from it, and we got accepted. So,
super.
So yeah,
That's
it's really
great.
exciting. Yeah.
Well, Justin Charney, thank you very much for being with us today and
Thank you
taking
so
the time off from this first beautiful Sunday afternoon. And best of luck to you.
Thank you so much.